The warning signal. The Galactic Council chamber was a sight to behold. It floated in the vastness of space, surrounded by shimmering stars and nebulae that pulsed with ancient light. Inside the chamber, representatives from dozens of alien species gathered around a circular table. Some had glowing eyes, others had scales, and a few even floated in translucent forms. Despite their differences, they shared one purpose: to maintain order across the galaxy. Today, however, their purpose was shaken. A red light blinked urgently on the central console, accompanied by a low, ominous hum. It was a distress signal, and it had come from a small blue planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy, Earth. The signal was weak but unmistakable. It carried a message encoded in Earth's primitive language. One of the Council's interpreters, a slender alien with long tendrils on its head, leaned closer to the console. Its tendrils glowed faintly as it deciphered the message. "Honorable members of the Council," the interpreter said, its voice echoing through the chamber. "The signal from Earth says, 'Help us. Our world is dying.'" A murmur spread across the room. Some council members leaned forward, their eyes narrowing in concern, while others sat back, unimpressed. "Earth again," a reptilian representative hissed, its scaled tail flicking impatiently. "That planet is always in trouble. Their species is reckless. Why should we care?" "Perhaps because they are sentient beings," replied a tall, silver-skinned representative with glowing blue eyes. This was Ilarin, one of the Council's most respected members. "Every species deserves a chance to survive." "They've had their chances," another member argued, its voice deep and booming. "They've poisoned their air, destroyed their forests, and turned their oceans into wastelands. They fight among themselves endlessly. Why save a species that refuses to save itself?" Ilarin stood, his presence commanding attention. "Yes, humanity is flawed, but they are also capable of great things. They've created art, music, and technology. They've shown resilience in the face of disaster. Perhaps all they need is guidance. Or perhaps they're beyond saving," the reptilian member retorted. Before the debate could continue, a new figure entered the chamber. It was the Observer, a cloaked and mysterious being who rarely spoke during council meetings. The Observer had been assigned to monitor Earth for centuries, and its knowledge of humanity was unmatched. The Observer's voice was calm but carried an undeniable weight. "Honorable members of the Council, I have watched Earth closely. I have seen their wars and their greed, but I have also seen their courage and compassion. They are at a tipping point. If we intervene now, we might save them. If we turn away, they will surely destroy themselves." The room fell silent. Even the most skeptical members of the Council respected the Observer's wisdom. After a moment, a small, insect-like representative clicked its mandibles and spoke. "If we save Earth, what will it cost us? Resources, time, perhaps even war with other species who see Earth as a target." Ilarin stepped forward again. "The cost of inaction is far greater. If we allow Earth to perish, we lose more than a planet. We lose the potential of what humanity could become. Imagine if they survive, if they thrive. They could one day contribute to the galaxy, just as we all do." The council chamber buzzed with quiet discussion. Some members nodded in agreement with Ilarin, while others remained unconvinced. Suddenly, the red light on the console began blinking faster. The distress signal from Earth was growing stronger, almost desperate. The interpreter glanced at the console and announced, "The signal has been updated. It now says, 'This is our last chance. Please, help us.'" The words hung heavy in the air. The Observer turned to face the Council. "This is not just about Earth. It is about who we are as a Council. Do we stand by our duty to protect life, or do we let a species die because it is inconvenient to save them?" The Council members exchanged uncertain glances. The decision before them was monumental. Some were swayed by the Observer's words, while others remained doubtful. "We cannot decide this lightly," said a member with a crystalline body that glowed faintly. "But we must decide quickly. If Earth is truly at its last chance, We cannot delay. Ilaran nodded. Then let us deliberate. But remember, we are not just deciding the fate of one planet. We are deciding what kind of galaxy we want to build. As the council began their heated discussions, the red light continued to blink, a silent reminder of the urgency of the situation. Far away on the small blue planet, humanity remained unaware of the debate unfolding among the stars. They did not know that their future hung by a thread, dependent on the mercy of beings they had never met. And as the council debated, one question loomed larger than any other. Was Earth worth saving? Humanity on trial? The Galactic Council chamber grew quieter as the observer stepped forward, its cloaked figure exuding an air of authority. Though its face remained hidden, everyone in the room knew the observer's reputation. It had been silently watching Earth for centuries, recording every triumph and tragedy. Ilaran gestured toward the observer. You have watched them longer than any of us. What do you believe humanity's greatest strength is? The observer's voice, calm yet resonant, filled the room. Their greatest strength lies in their ability to adapt. When faced with insurmountable odds, they find ways to survive. From the ancient days when they hunted with stones to the era when they reached for the stars, they have endured. But their flaw is also their strength. They are reckless. They grow only when forced to face adversity. The reptilian counselor, Krastik, let out a derisive hiss. Then let them face their destruction. If they are so good at adapting, they should fix their own mess. A murmur of agreement spread through a few members of the chamber. Ilaran frowned. And if they cannot, will we let a sentient species perish simply because they made mistakes? None of us are without fault. Let us not pretend we have forgotten our own histories. The chamber grew silent again, as the observer raised a hand, signaling for attention. Perhaps it would be better if I showed you, it said. With a wave of its cloak, a shimmering projection appeared in the center of the room. It was a vivid, lifelike image of Earth, its swirling blue oceans and green lands, now marred by scars of pollution and destruction. Cities sprawled like gray veins across the surface, while storms raged in the skies and wildfires consumed once lush forests. This is Earth as it stands today, the observer began. A planet on the brink of collapse. Their oceans are dying, their air is poisoned, and their lands are scared. And yet, the image shifted. Now it showed a young human child planting a tree in the middle of a barren field. The camera zoomed out to reveal a community working together to restore the land. And yet, the observer continued, they have hope. In the darkest times, they find ways to fight back. While their leaders bicker and argue, their people act. They are flawed, yes, but they are not beyond redemption. The projection shifted again. This time, it showed scenes from human history, a group of explorers landing on the moon, doctors working tirelessly to save lives during a global pandemic, and musicians performing a symphony that moved thousands to tears. These are the moments we cannot ignore, the observer said. For every act of destruction, there is an act of creation. For every war, there is peace. For every loss, there is hope. They are chaotic, but within their chaos lies potential. The room was silent as the images faded. Even Krastik, who had been so dismissive before, seemed thoughtful. A crystalline counselor spoke up, its voice like chimes in the wind. But how can we trust that they will change? How do we know they won't simply destroy themselves again after we intervene? The observer turned to the counselor. We cannot guarantee change, but isn't that the point of what we do? We guide, we protect, and we give species the chance to grow. If we only help those who were already perfect, we would help no one. Ilaran nodded. We must remember that no species starts as perfect. Even the oldest civilizations in this council once faced extinction. Someone gave us a chance. Should we not do the same for Earth? Before anyone could respond, the red light on the console flashed again. This time, the distress signal was accompanied by a visual feed from Earth. The projection showed scenes of chaos. cities flooded by rising seas, wildfires consuming entire regions, and humans fleeing from the destruction. But amid the chaos, there were glimpses of hope. Rescue teams braved dangerous conditions to save lives. Scientists worked day and night to find solutions to the planet's problems. Children banded together, raising their voices in songs of hope. "This is humanity," the observer said, its voice softer now. "A species capable of great destruction, but also great resilience. If we abandon them now, we lose the chance to witness what they could become." The chamber buzzed with debate once more. Some counselors remained skeptical, citing the risks and the cost of intervention. Others, moved by the observer's presentation, began to argue for Earth's salvation. Finally, a towering counselor with a deep, rumbling voice spoke up. "Perhaps we should put them to the test. Let us see if humanity is truly ready to change. If they can prove themselves, we intervene. If not." The counselor didn't finish the sentence, but the implication was clear. Ilarin frowned, but nodded. "A test, then, but it must be fair. Humanity deserves a chance to fight for their survival." The council members began to murmur in agreement, though tension still hung in the air. The decision was not yet final, but the idea of a test seemed to gain traction. As the debate continued, the observer stepped back into the shadows, its role temporarily complete. On Earth, unaware of the trial unfolding in the stars, humanity continued its struggle, not knowing that their actions in the coming days would determine their fate. And in the Galactic Council chamber, one question lingered above all else. Could humanity prove they were worth saving? The unseen threat. The Galactic Council chamber was restless. The idea of testing humanity to determine its worthiness for survival had sparked endless debates. Some members were eager to proceed, while others remained skeptical. But as the arguments grew heated, an uninvited visitor disrupted the meeting. The chamber's massive doors hissed open, and a figure stepped in. It was a messenger, a scout from the Galactic Patrol, wearing sleek armor that shimmered like liquid metal. The scout's face was pale, its eyes wide with urgency. "Honorable Council," the scout announced, bowing deeply. "I bring troubling news. The Rakarans have begun to move." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The name Rakarans sent a chill through even the bravest council members. They were a ruthless alien species known for their insatiable hunger for resources. Entire planets had been stripped bare by their relentless invasions. Krastik, the reptilian counselor, hissed angrily. "What interest do the Rakarans have in this matter?" The scout straightened and replied, "Their fleet is heading toward Earth. They see the planet as vulnerable and rich in resources. They mean to claim it for themselves." Ilarin stood, his glowing blue eyes narrowing. "This complicates matters. If the Rakarans invade, humanity won't stand a chance. Their destruction will be swift and merciless." The observer, still cloaked in shadows, spoke up. "The Rakarans see Earth as an easy target. They won't stop at just taking its resources. They'll enslave or annihilate the human population. We must act now." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some members argued that the Rakaran invasion was inevitable, and that saving Earth wasn't worth the risk of war. Others insisted that protecting Earth was a moral obligation, even if it meant facing the Rakarans head-on. A crystalline counselor with a voice like chimes tried to calm the room. "Before we act, we must consider our options carefully. Engaging the Rakarans could spark a galactic conflict. Are we prepared for such consequences?" The observer stepped forward, raising its voice above the commotion. "The Rakarans are a threat not just to Earth, but to the entire galaxy. If we allow them to take one planet, they will take another and another. Humanity's fate may be the tipping point, but this is about more than one species. It is about standing against tyranny." The council fell silent, the weight of the observer's words sinking in. Ilarin addressed the scout. "How far is the Rakaran fleet?" "Less than 2 Earth cycles away," the scout replied. "If we act quickly, we might intercept them before they reach the planet." Krastik shook his head. Interception would mean war. The Rakarans will not back down. Do we really want to risk the lives of our own people for a species that may not even survive its own self-destruction? Ilaran turned to Krastik, his voice firm. And if we do nothing, if we let the Rakarans take Earth, what message does that send to the rest of the galaxy? That we, the Council, will stand by while a predator devours the weak. We have a duty to protect life, even when it is inconvenient. The debate raged on, with no clear consensus in sight. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity remained blissfully unaware of the danger hurtling toward them. While scientists and leaders scrambled to address the planet's environmental and political crisis, none of them knew that an alien fleet was on its way, ready to exploit their vulnerabilities. The Observer, sensing the urgency of the situation, proposed a bold solution. What if we use the Rakaran threat as humanity's test? If they can rally together and resist the invasion, it will prove their resilience and their worth. If they fail, the Observer paused, its voice heavy. Then perhaps they were never meant to survive. The suggestion sent ripples through the chamber. Ilaran hesitated. You're suggesting we let humanity face the Rakarans alone. That's not a test. It's a death sentence. Not entirely alone, the Observer replied. We can provide subtle guidance, perhaps small tools or information to help them prepare. But the fight must be theirs. Only then will we see if they are capable of rising above their flaws. A deep, booming voice interrupted. It belonged to the towering counselor who had suggested the test earlier. The Observer's plan is risky, but it may be our only option. If we interfere directly, we risk full-scale war with the Rakarans. If we do nothing, Earth is doomed anyway. This test could give humanity a fighting chance. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. The decision was fraught with uncertainty, but time was running out. Finally, Ilaran stepped forward. I do not like this plan, but I see no better alternative. We will give humanity the tools they need to defend themselves. Whether they succeed or fail will be up to them. The council voted, and the majority agreed to the plan. The Observer was tasked with delivering the tools to Earth, while the Galactic Patrol would monitor the situation from a distance. As the meeting adjourned, the Observer lingered for a moment, staring at the holographic image of Earth. This is their last chance, it whispered, though no one else was close enough to hear. Let us hope they are ready. Far away, the Rakaran fleet drew closer, their ships cutting through the darkness of space like predators on the hunt. Humanity's greatest trial was about to begin, and they didn't even know it. The council divided. The Galactic Council chamber was in turmoil. The decision to send Earth a test, rather than directly intervening, had not been well received by everyone. Council members who had initially supported the plan were now wavering. The threat of the Rakaran fleet loomed larger by the moment, and the debate over how much to help humanity grew fiercer. Ilaran stood in the center of the chamber, his silver skin glimmering under the soft blue lights. We agreed to give humanity a chance to prove themselves. Why are we questioning this now? Krastik, the reptilian counselor, flicked his tail angrily. Because the Rakarans are not some theoretical threat. They are real, and they are coming. If we stand aside, humanity will fall. And when the Rakarans are done with Earth, they'll come for the rest of us. That's precisely why we need to act carefully, argued a crystalline counselor, their chime-like voice calm but firm. If we engage the Rakarans directly, we risk a galaxy-wide war. Our resources are not infinite. But what about our integrity? Ilaran countered. If we let Earth be destroyed, we lose the very purpose of this council, to protect life and ensure peace. Are we so afraid of the Rakarans that we will abandon our principles? The room grew tense. For centuries, the Galactic Council had stood as a beacon of justice in the galaxy, mediating conflicts and protecting vulnerable civilizations. But the Rakarans were no ordinary enemy. They were brutal and relentless, and even the Council feared their wrath. The Observer, who had been silent for much of the debate, finally spoke. Its voice cut through the noise like a blade. This is not just about Earth. This is about what we stand for as a council. If we abandon humanity because it is difficult to save them, then we are no better than the predators we claim to oppose. The room fell silent. The observer's words carried a weight that none dared to challenge openly. But the silence was short-lived. A booming voice from the corner of the chamber broke the stillness. It belonged to Verok, a massive armored counselor from a warrior race. Enough talk of morality. What we need is strategy. If we are to save Earth, we must decide how much we are willing to risk. The Rakarans will not stop with one planet, but we cannot protect the galaxy if we destroy ourselves in the process. Ilara nodded reluctantly. You're right, Verok. We need a plan, but we must also decide, what tools will we give humanity? How much help is too much? If we give them advanced technology, we risk destabilizing their already fragile society. The counselors murmured in agreement. The challenge was clear. Give humanity too little, and they would be crushed by the Rakarans. Give them too much, and they might use the technology recklessly, causing even greater destruction. Krastik sneered. Why give them anything at all? Let them fend for themselves. If they survive, they are worthy. If not, then the galaxy is better off without them. The observer turned sharply toward Krastik. And what if it were your species on the brink of annihilation? Would you say the same then? Krastik hissed but said nothing. Ilaran stepped forward, his voice steady but resolute. We have already chosen the path of the test. Now we must commit to it. I propose we send humanity 3 tools. A shield to protect their planet from the Rakarans' initial assault, a beacon to rally their people, and knowledge of the Rakaran fleet's weaknesses. This will give them a fighting chance without handing them the solution outright. The chamber erupted into debate once more. Some counselors supported Ilaran's plan, while others argued for alternative approaches. They'll misuse the tools, one counselor cried. They'll turn the shield into a weapon or ignore the beacon entirely. Humanity is too unpredictable. But that unpredictability is also their strength, the observer interjected. If they can rise to this challenge, they will prove they are capable of becoming a force for good in the galaxy. As the arguments raged on, the chamber's holographic display lit up with a new alert. The Rakaran fleet was now less than a day's journey from Earth. The council was running out of time. A vote was called. The counselors cast their decisions, their glowing sigils lighting up in the air. The results were close, but in the end, Ilaran's plan was approved. Humanity would be given the 3 tools and the opportunity to fight for their survival. As the meeting concluded, the observer was tasked with delivering the tools to Earth. The cloaked figure accepted the responsibility without hesitation. You believe they can succeed? Ilaran asked quietly as the observer prepared to leave. I believe they must, the observer replied. If they fail, it will not only be the end of Earth, it will be the end of our faith in the potential of life itself. Ilaran nodded, watching as the observer disappeared into the shadows. Far across the galaxy, the Rakaran fleet drew ever closer to Earth, their massive ships blotting out the stars. Humanity remained unaware of the storm that was about to descend upon them. And in the Galactic Council chamber, the counselors dispersed, each carrying the weight of the decision they had just made. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy itself, was now in the hands of a fragile, chaotic species, humanity's awakening. The night sky above Earth shimmered with a strange brilliance, unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Across the globe, people gazed upward, drawn to the sudden appearance of a massive, glowing structure orbiting their planet. The shimmering object, a translucent sphere of shifting light, seemed to pulse like a living heart. In laboratories, government command centers, and private homes, scientists and leaders scrambled for answers. Was it a comet, a new satellite, or something far more sinister? It wasn't long before the truth became clear. The observer's first tool, the shield, had been deployed. Invisible to human eyes until activated, it now revealed itself as the Rakaran fleet approached Earth. But the shield was not humanity's only gift. Miles beneath the bustling streets of a major city, a small team of engineers and computer scientists huddled in an underground bunker. In the center of the room stood a strange device, unlike anything they'd ever seen. It had appeared overnight, materializing in a burst of light, along with a simple message: "Your salvation lies within. Activate the beacon." The team, skeptical but desperate, examined the device. It was sleek and otherworldly, its surface smooth and cold, with a single glowing panel in the center. Around it, symbols flickered, patterns no human language could replicate, but somehow felt familiar. Dr. Elena Carter, the lead scientist, stepped forward. "If this is a weapon, it's unlike anything we've ever seen," she murmured. "Or a trap," one of her colleagues said nervously. Elena shook her head. "No. Whoever sent this wants us to use it. They've given us a choice." She hesitated, her hand hovering over the glowing panel. "But what will it do?" Before anyone could answer, the device emitted a low hum, and an image appeared above it. A hologram of Earth surrounded by massive alien ships. A technician gasped. "Those aren't human vessels." "No," Elena whispered, her face pale. "They're coming for us." The hologram shifted, showing the shield in action as it intercepted blasts of energy from the Rakaran fleet. The shield was holding, for now, but the message was clear: Earth was under attack. Elena pressed her hand to the panel, and the beacon activated. A low-frequency pulse rippled outward, felt more than heard, spreading across the planet, around the world. In a remote desert, a group of nomads looked to the sky as the pulse vibrated through the air. A young boy pointed to the stars, his eyes wide with wonder. In a crowded metropolis, protesters paused mid-chant, their attention drawn to the strange hum resonating in their bones. In a war-torn village, soldiers on both sides lowered their weapons, momentarily united in confusion as the pulse passed over them. The beacon's activation sent a clear message, though not one of words. It carried a sense of urgency, a call to action that every human being could feel in their core. Across the globe, chaos erupted, but so did unity. The Council watches. From their distant vantage point, the Galactic Council monitored the events unfolding on Earth. Ilarin stood with the observer, both watching the planet's holographic projection. "They've activated the beacon," Ilarin said. "Do you think they'll understand its purpose?" The observer's voice was calm but firm. "Understanding is irrelevant. Action is what matters. The beacon will bring them together, whether they realize it or not. That unity is what they'll need to survive." "And the Rakaran fleet?" The observer turned to Ilarin. "The shield will hold them back for a time, but the real battle must be fought by humanity." On Earth, Elena and her team worked tirelessly, deciphering the beacon's instructions. The device provided coordinates to hidden caches of knowledge scattered across the planet. Ancient ruins, deep caves, and forgotten artifacts containing secrets left by unknown benefactors. One such cache revealed blueprints for a new type of weapon, one capable of disrupting the Rakaran ship's energy shields. Another held instructions for amplifying Earth's defensive systems, using technology far beyond human capabilities. But time was running out. The shield orbiting Earth was beginning to falter under the relentless assault of the Rakaran fleet. Across the planet, nations were forced to set aside their differences and work together to prepare for the inevitable battle. In a global summit hastily convened, leaders debated the next steps. Some argued for immediate action, deploying the newly discovered technology against the Rakarans. Others urged caution, fearing the consequences of wielding tools they barely understood. It was Elena who finally spoke up. "We don't have time for hesitation," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "The Rakaran fleet won't wait for us to be ready. If we don't act now, there won't be an Earth left to save." Her words spurred the room into action. Teams of scientists and engineers across the globe began building and deploying the new technology, while military forces prepared for the fight of their lives. The countdown begins. In the skies above Earth, the Rakaren fleet loomed closer, their massive ships casting ominous shadows across the planet. From the ground, they looked like dark eclipses against the sun. The shield flickered, its once brilliant light dimming under the relentless bombardment. On the surface, humanity held its breath, waiting for the moment when the fight would begin in earnest. Elena stood outside the bunker, looking up at the shield as it strained to hold. She clenched her fists, determination etched on her face. "We're not just fighting for survival," she murmured. "We're fighting to prove we're worth saving." And as the Rakaren fleet prepared for their final assault, humanity braced itself for the greatest battle it had ever faced. Humanity's last stand. The Rakaren fleet was now visible to the naked eye, their massive ships casting eerie shadows over Earth's cities. The shield protecting the planet pulsed erratically, barely holding against the relentless barrage of energy blasts. Inside command centers around the globe, tension was at its peak. Screens flickered with data from satellites, tracking the enemy's every movement. Humanity's newly unified forces were preparing for a battle they barely understood, using technology they'd only just begun to grasp. In the underground bunker, Elena Carter and her team worked tirelessly to finalize the last weapon systems derived from the alien blueprints. The devices were crude but functional, a testament to humanity's ingenuity under pressure. "This is it," Elena said, stepping back from a console. "The disruptors are online. If these work, we might just have a chance." The Council observes. Far away, in the Galactic Council chamber, Ellerin watched the events unfold with a mix of hope and dread. The holographic projection of Earth showed the Rakaren fleet poised to strike a final blow. "They're not ready," Krastik sneered, his reptilian eyes narrowing. "This battle is over before it begins." "They are more ready than you think," the observer countered. "Humanity's strength lies in its unpredictability. Watch." The council chamber fell silent as the battle began. The first strike. The Rakaren fleet unleashed a devastating wave of energy, aiming to penetrate the failing shield. For a moment, it seemed as though Earth's defenses would collapse entirely. But then, the disruptors activated. From hidden installations across the planet, powerful bursts of energy shot into the sky, targeting the Rakaren ships. The disruptors emitted frequencies that destabilized the enemy's energy shields, creating openings for counterattacks. In orbit, one of the Rakaren ships faltered, its shield flickering before collapsing entirely. A volley of missiles from Earth's forces struck the exposed ship, sending it spiraling out of control. Cheers erupted in command centers worldwide. For the first time, humanity had struck a blow against the invaders. Unity in chaos. Despite the victory, the battle was far from over. The Rakarans adapted quickly, shifting their attack patterns to target the disruptors. On the ground, teams of soldiers and engineers fought to protect the fragile installations, battling Rakaran drones that had been deployed to sabotage Earth's defenses. In one such battle, a young soldier named Malik found himself cornered by a Rakaran drone. Armed with only a makeshift energy rifle, he fired desperately, managing to disable the drone just as it lunged at him. "Keep that disruptor online," he shouted to a nearby engineer. "If it goes down, we're finished." Across the planet, similar scenes played out as humanity fought tooth and nail to hold the line. A critical decision. In the bunker, Alina received a transmission from a military commander. "The Rakaran flagship has been identified," the commander said. "It's heavily armored, but if we take it out, we might force them to retreat." Alina nodded, her mind racing. The flagship was the nerve center of the invasion, but targeting it would require immense resources and a risky diversion. "We'll need to divert all remaining disruptors to weaken its defenses," she said. "But that leaves the rest of the planet vulnerable." "It's a gamble," the commander replied. "But it might be our only chance." Alina made her decision. "Do it. We can't let them regroup." The flagship assault. Humanity's forces launched a coordinated strike on the Rakaran flagship. Squadrons of fighters, armed with the alien-derived weapons, swarmed the massive vessel, targeting its weak points. The disruptors fired in unison, piercing the flagship's shields. For the first time, the colossal ship seemed vulnerable. Inside the flagship, the Rakaran commander barked orders in its guttural language, trying to rally its forces. But humanity's assault was relentless. Alina watched the battle unfold on a screen in the bunker, her heart pounding. "Come on," she whispered. "Just a little more." A squadron of fighters managed to breach the flagship's outer defenses, delivering a payload directly to its core. The explosion was blinding, and for a moment, silence fell across the battlefield. Then, the Rakaran flagship began to break apart, pieces of its massive structure falling into Earth's atmosphere like meteors. Victory, at a cost. The destruction of the flagship sent a shockwave through the Rakaran fleet. Without their leader, the remaining ships retreated, disappearing into the depths of space. On Earth, people erupted into cheers, celebrating their improbable victory. But the cost had been immense. Cities lay in ruins, and countless lives had been lost in the battle. Alina stepped outside the bunker, looking up at the now clear sky. The shield had collapsed, its energy spent, but Earth was safe, for now. "We did it," she murmured, though her voice was heavy with exhaustion. "We proved we could fight." The Council's verdict. In the Galactic Council chamber, the members watched the aftermath of the battle in silence. "They survived," Ellerin said softly. "Despite everything, they survived." The observer nodded. "And in doing so, they've proven their potential. Humanity has earned its place among the stars." Krastik scowled but said nothing. The Council voted unanimously to grant Earth provisional membership, ensuring that humanity would receive guidance and support as they rebuilt. A new beginning. On Earth, as the dust settled, humanity began to rebuild, not just their cities, but their understanding of their place in the universe. The knowledge left by their mysterious benefactors hinted at possibilities far beyond their imagination. And while the scars of the battle remained, so too did the hope that had united them in their darkest hour. Above them, the stars shone brighter than ever, a reminder that their journey was just beginning. The aftermath. The sun rose over a changed Earth. Smoke still lingered in the skies above cities that had borne the brunt of the Rakaran assault, but amidst the ruins, there was a sense of triumph. Humanity had survived. Against impossible odds, they had united, fought back, and emerged victorious. In the heart of the United Nations headquarters, world leaders gathered for an emergency summit. The mood was somber but hopeful. Alina Carter, now hailed as a hero, stood at the front of the room, addressing the assembly. "This wasn't just a battle for survival," she said, her voice echoing in the hushed chamber. "It was a test of who we are, and who we can become. The tools we received didn't just save us. They challenged us to rise above our differences. Now we have a chance to build something better, together." The room erupted into applause, but beneath the surface, there was unease. Humanity had won the battle, but questions remained. Who had sent the tools, and why? The Council's new role. On a distant planet, the Galactic Council watched Earth's recovery with interest. "They've proven themselves," Ellerin said, leaning back in his chair, "but they're still fragile. Their unity is tenuous at best." The observer nodded. "That fragility is what makes them remarkable. They don't rely on perfection. They thrive in chaos, but they'll need guidance." "And the Rakarans," Krastik interjected. "They've retreated, but they'll be back. Perhaps not tomorrow, but eventually." Ilarin frowned. "When that day comes, humanity won't be alone. We'll make sure of that." The Council voted to send a delegation to Earth. The decision marked the beginning of a new era, one where humanity would no longer be isolated in the cosmos. Hidden truths. Back on Earth, Alina received a private message, encrypted and untraceable. It contained a single line of text. The tools were only the beginning. Prepare for what's to come. Alina stared at the screen, her heart racing. Who had sent the message? Was it the same entity that had provided the shield and the beacon, or someone else entirely? She decided not to share the message with the world. At least, not yet. Humanity was already overwhelmed with rebuilding, and she didn't want to add to their fears. But the message lingered in her mind, a haunting reminder that the universe was far more complex and far more dangerous than they had imagined. Seeds of the future. In the months that followed, humanity began to rebuild. The alien technology left behind sparked a new wave of innovation, leading to advances in energy, medicine, and space exploration. For the first time, nations worked together, pooling their resources and knowledge. Old rivalries faded as humanity embraced a shared purpose: to prepare for the challenges of the cosmos. The Galactic Council delegation arrived quietly, introducing themselves as allies and mentors. Their presence sparked awe and curiosity, but also suspicion. Humanity had learned the hard way that not all visitors from the stars came with good intentions. A new journey begins. Alina stood on a mountaintop, overlooking the newly constructed spaceport. Ships capable of interstellar travel were being built, their designs inspired by the alien blueprints. "We're not just rebuilding," she said to Malik, the young soldier who had become her close ally during the battle. "We're evolving. The stars aren't just distant lights anymore. They're our next frontier." Malik smiled, his eyes reflecting the hope of a new generation. "Do you think we're ready?" Alina hesitated, then nodded. "We have to be." Above them, the night sky sparkled with endless possibilities. Humanity had passed its first great test, but many more awaited. As Earth's first interstellar ship launched into the heavens, carrying a message of peace and determination, a new chapter began, not just for humanity, but for the galaxy itself. And far away, in the shadows of space, unseen eyes watched and waited.